guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today for you guys is another review. Today we're tackling the final season, sadly the final season of Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 3. So, this is, again, I'm not going to spoil everything in the show, but it's kind of hard not to spoil things because it's the end of a TV show. So if you haven't seen this show, first of all, what the fudge are you doing? Please watch this show, this franchise, wherever you can, on Netflix, Stars, wherever. Buy it on Blu-ray like I did. Probably not that expensive. But yeah, so this is going to cover the finale of Season 3. So, this was not originally apparently going to be the final season, right? We were going to get more. Apparently we were going to get 5 seasons. Sam Raimi was like, hey, he pitched 5. And then they're like, hey, we can't do that because, you know, Bruce Campbell is weird and old. But no, I mean, the real reason is that they put this show on Stars, and no one effing knew what the show was. You know, like Bruce Campbell, you know, Ash Williams, literally in an interview was like, why is the show not doing well? Why are we making like no freaking money? What's going on, right? It's on Stars. No one knows what the fudge a Stars is, right? I didn't know. I only have Disney Plus, so I mean, I don't really know half the stuff. But like, it's crazy that they put this like really, really amazing, like underrated show in a really, really amazing, probably properly rated franchise onto Stars where no one knows what that is. You know what I mean? So that was just a really shitty marketing move in and of itself. So that didn't help. But, you know, once they put it on Netflix and they were like, oh, hey, it's on Netflix now, too late, it got canceled. So if you're literally reading the description here, it says, in the third and final season of the Stars hit series. Oh, boy. So, yeah, I think when you do get to the end of this season, right, when it's all done, the season's concluded, and we'll talk about it, but it does feel like a genuine conclusion, right? Like, this when I finished the show, I was like, okay, I could see, you know, how they could continue, but I also believe that, yeah, this is a worthy end to this series. This is a very controversial ending for a lot of reasons, but before we get into the ending, we'll talk about the beginning, probably. So, this is kind of when, you know, Ash goes back in time in the end of Season 2, yeah, that happens, and they rescue Pablo and the cabin burns down, and I was a little confused, so I did some digging, and apparently, this is... As I die. This is the... I got possessed by a deadite. This is essentially a... I don't want to say alternate timeline, but, you know, they go back in time and they burn the cabin, so theoretically none of this other shit should be happening. But it does. And there's even a line in, I think, episode 1 of the show, where Pablo's talking to Candace Barr, I think, Candy Bar. And, you know, they're in the school, and Pablo's like, oh, you know, Jefe went back in time and saved me. But it was weird because when we came back to the present, nothing seemed to have changed. Except for the fact that the freaking cabin burned down. I know it's Evil Dead, okay? I know. I get it. It's Evil Dead. It's not Star Wars, right? And yeah, the Last Jedi poster still freaking fell down, so I gotta figure out a way to put that up, so you're back with him. But I think that, you know, this is not the Rise of Skywalker, right? This is not where you have canon books and TV shows and, you know, Star Wars is this massive franchise full of amazing entries. This is, you know, it's still Evil Dead, right? It's still got a lot to it. But, you know, it is not like that, or even like Marvel or DC where there's a lot of lore and all that. You know, they have it, but it's not as in-depth. So, I was like, okay, how do you explain that, right? Oh, don't overanalyze it, dude. It's just effing Evil Dead. What are you, stupid? But no, like, again, like, when I love something, I really want to look into it. And essentially they were kind of saying that, yeah, besides, like, the cabin burning down, nothing really changed from that. Besides, of course, the banishment of Baal and all that. And because the Necronomicon is the freaking Necronomicon Ex Mortis, you can't really destroy it fully, right? There's a few ways you could, but, you know, falling into fire, basically going back to hell, and the cabin kind of dissolves. Some hot chick finds it and gives it to some old dude, and he's like, oh, this is the Necronomicon. And then he, like, you know, shit goes crazy, of course. And then we kind of see, you know, Pablo's selling his chips, and we got Kelly kind of going, I don't want to say AWOL, but she's kind of doing her own thing with Dalton and the Knights of Samaria, which we'll get to. We got Ash, of course, with his hardware store that used to be his dad's. Really cool stuff there. We also see his dad return in, like, ghost form, which is also a cool continuation of you know, because we've seen demons and hell, but we never see, like, heaven, so to speak, so it's cool to see that, you know, ghosts are real and they're blue force ghosts. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, we see kind of a lot of Ash doing a lot of things with the hardware store, and of course, you know, they come back to that where there's that rift in the basement. But yeah, I think one of the main kind of entries in this, and you know, upon first watch, when I first finished it, I was like, oh, you know, this is good. Maybe isn't my favorite season, but it's good, right? And I still don't think it is my favorite season. But as far as negatives, I don't have that many. It's just for some reason it isn't as memorable to me as 1 and 2. But then you kind of get to Ash's wife, Candace, who of course gets pretty effed up in I think episode 1. And then you get Ash's daughter. So yeah, one of the big revelations, the big, I call it the Star Wars, the Ninjago moment, right? Lloyd and Garminon, I should say, Luke and Vader, and then you've, of course, got Ash and his daughter, Brandy Barr. And I think, look, she is hot. Sorry, I misspoke. She is. She is a good character. And I think that's kind of interesting where you bring this, his daughter along, and she's not just like 4 or like a kid to market. You know what I mean? She's like a literal adult, and she has these, emotions of her mom dying, and she kind of obviously has, wants nothing to do with the Deadites and the Evil Dead and all that. But it's really cool that we kind of get this kind of a flip on like the legacy. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Star Wars sequels where like Rey is like really infatuated with Luke and the Jedi. It's kind of like that, but like the opposite. Brandy knows about Ash. Really ashy slashy, right? Oh, he's just some weird creep. Turns out, oh shit, I'm related to him. You know what I mean? So that's fun. But it is a really good twist on this, aspect of this style of show and this style of franchise, right? We've never seen that before in Evil Dead. So it's cool that we get almost a passing of the torch type thing. And I know Brandy isn't in Evil Dead 2013 or Evil Dead Rise. She might show up in the new animated show. She might show up in one of the 2 movies. I don't know. This is canon. It did happen. Brandy is officially part of the Evil Dead lore, and she's still kicking. So I think that'd be cool to see, of course, before they get to the whole way in the future type thing. But I think she's cool. You know what I mean? She's not like the most well-written character of all time, but she's relatable, and she is relatable in a sense where, obviously I don't think. Well, I'm Catholic, so I guess demons are real. But, I haven't seen one yet. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. So, if you find the Book of the Dead, don't read from it, okay, please. But in this, you see Brandy kind of go from, I'm in high school and I'm doing whatever. And then she's like, my mom's dead. Oh, my best friend's dead. Oh, yeah, Ash is my dad. So, there's a lot of revelations that kind of hit her at once. And she kind of goes along with the ride and all that. And it's kind of cool to see kind of, all these events happening from like the perspective of kind of a normal person in a way. The most normal, I would say, out of the group. Kelly's normal-ish, but I think she's probably the most normal. Obviously, Pablo is great. Kelly is great. Dalton is he's whatever. He's one of the Knights of Samaria, right? They have like these rings like that. So I should get a Knights of Samaria ring, honestly. But I think it is really cool that you have these, again, more additions to the lore, more additions to the world building and all that. And, we never knew that. We knew about the dark ones. We knew Ruby is a dark one. But that's not a racist thing. That's what they're called. And basically with that, you get Dalton and all these other people. I don't remember the other people's names, but there's the bald guy, the black chick with the hair, the other white guy, there's another white guy, and there's probably another white guy. But they're in that, and they're all doing their own thing, and they're all kind of bowing to Ash, and they're like the Captain America goody two-shoes saviors. And they're good people. They're not like bad people, but it's kind of interesting that whenever Dalton sees Ash, he kneels, and he's like, all right, hey, stop that. It's kind of interesting that, like Ash is the prophesied one. I don't know if it's prophesized or I think it's prophesied. I don't know, but he's basically Anakin, right? He's like the chosen one, and Ash is like, okay, I guess I got to save the world. And obviously hijinks ensue and all that, and a bunch of silly jokes. And yeah, the humor is still on point. Ash is still freaking hilarious. Everyone in the show is really funny at times, and I think this is a good example of, or one of the best examples really of a horror comedy, right? We don't really see a whole lot of those, and I think that it still holds up really well in this show. Now, I don't really get offended by things, and I wasn't offended by this, so I'm not going to get all like SJW, on you, but it was really, I don't know. You remember when The Evil Dead came out and Cheryl got raped by a freaking tree? Remember that? That's controversial. I'm not offended by that. A, so I'm not a woman, but B, it's fake. It didn't happen, right? Like, yeah, rape's fucked up, but it's not. I don't think anyone got raped by a tree. I hope not. But, you never know. But, that was the controversial thing in the first film. And obviously, yeah, it's jacked up, but, just me personally, I don't really get offended by anything. I've been called every freaking name under the sun. I don't give a crap, whatever. But, this, again, it didn't offend me, but this one, I've seen a lot of blood and gore in this show, and it doesn't really affect me. Obviously, there was something in season 2. Oh, yeah, the naked people, the butthole. But I think that, go watch the other review. But, this has pretty much the equivalent of a school shooting. Obviously, me, even if no one is in the education field, it's still bad. But me, being a teacher, hopefully soon, it's obviously, I mean, I didn't like get grossed out or cry, or I'm not some kind of baby, but you know, I'd rather see something other than Ash butcher a bunch of kids at a school prom. You know, it's a little bit cringy in a good way because that's what they were trying to do, but it's also like straight up. You know, I'd rather not be watching a bunch of kids get slaughtered with blood everywhere. But that's the point, right? They're trying to make you feel uncomfortable. And a lot of the show is funny or gory or a mix of both, right? It's not a very serious show. And they still kind of play it for laughs or like, ding dong, you're dead, stuff like that. A little tasteless, I guess. Again, I'm not offended. This doesn't affect the score. I can see people throwing a fit as they throw a fit with everything now. For God's sake, people hit their toe on the door and they blame it on Trump. So, I mean, people are just pissed no matter what you do. You can't win. You get canceled for everything. So just don't talk ever. But in this, you know, it is, hopefully that'll change soon. But in this, you get that sense of, oh man, they're trying to do something that isn't just poop and fart and other stuff, other fluids, you know what I mean? So in this, it's very much like, oh, this is really interesting that they're doing something unique, but it still is pretty jacked up. And, you know, like, just seeing, like, Ruby be this manipulator for not only, you know, everyone in the school, but being Miss Privet or whatever, you know, kind of manipulating Brandy into being, like, a counselor person that she can go to for help. Ruby is a very good three-dimensional character in this. She's not just a dark one. She's not just evil, right? She has her purposes and her reasons for doing the things that she does. And I think that's really interesting. And, of course, you know, you get to the whole, yeah, we do this again, right, where she clones Ash, and we kind of have this. Maybe this is where the show drags just a little baby bit where, like, you get the fat Scandinavian woman or whatever, and she's like, woolly boolly boo, and he's like, oh, shut up, you know, and they move in the sink, and little baby Ash is, you know, chasing them around the house and all that, and they actually have a freaking toddler run around covered in blood, which, you know, it's fine. We've all been there, right? But I think that it's interesting to see that, yeah, like, they're doing the clone thing again, right? Like, it's baffling they're doing it. This is, like, what, the fourth or fifth time in this franchise where Ash has had like a secret evil clone of himself. It's not bad, but I feel like they could have done something different. But the thing we ended up getting, I liked it. You know, I don't judge media on what I wanted. I judge it on what I got, which a lot of people should do. But at the same time, you know, I think that seeing Ash as a little baby grow up, and then obviously he does a lot of age jump where he looks just like Bruce Campbell Ash now. You know, they don't got the budget for this deepfake crap. You know what I mean? They're not going to make Luke Skywalker look like he's 12 again. So it's interesting that they went with that, and really, again, kind of baffling, but it works. You know what I mean? I think it doesn't like not work, but you know, I think that maybe it dragged just a little bit where they're in that house for a little too long. Nothing too crazy, and then we get the fact that yeah, like crazy stuff happens, right? Ruby, you know, basically ends up killing Brandy, right? Like she dies. Spoilers. She dies, and you know other people die. Kelly, and they go to this. I don't really remember what it's called. It's basically like a mirrored. It's like Doctor Strange with the mirror dimension or whatever. But it's like a really green, saturated like green mist place. It's not hell, I don't think, but it's kind of like a place before you go to hell, I guess. And they all kind of have to avoid these, you know, the dark ones and all this. And it's really cool that we see people that have gotten killed by the Necronomicon or just by the Sumerian. Kandarian dagger. It's cool, you know what I mean? I think it's really interesting. And of course, Brandy has to navigate her way out. And we get, of course, you know, the demise of Ruby. Which again, I'm saying the demise of Ruby, and this ending feels like it's a crazy climactic final battle. And that's weird because like they were like, oh, we're gonna do 5 seasons. But either they reshot it really quick or rewrote the script really fast. Because yeah, this does feel like a climactic, epic conclusion, right? Ruby is gone. We have Ash and the Dark Ones appear, and they're here. Literally the most evil creatures in this franchise show up, read from the book, take the book, and unleash, as you can see from the front cover here, hopefully it's this guy here, Kandar, the demon. Basically a massive CGI creature that is the essentially the I guess the end of you know, his chosen one arc, so to speak. I guess like Anakin in a way as well, but that's obviously a little different than Ash. But in a sense, you know, this is what the prophesied one, right? This is what it all has been leading up to. This is the metal. This is even Pablo says it. They're testing the metal of man, which is the title of episode 1. So again, everything really kind of comes together to feel like a big climactic battle. With I don't know if they intended that, you know, but it ended up being that way for me, and it really felt like, oh man, this is it, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, at the very last episode, I cried just a little bit. I know, how the hell do you cry at Evil Dead what are you for? But I'll be honest, watching Ash go from this meek loser to like literally the savior of humanity, and seeing him bond with his daughter, and me getting to bond with Pablo and Kelly and this group, the Ghost Beaters, and just watching all these other movies, it really does feel like a climactic thing, right? And when Ash kind of locks them in the SWAT car and says their goodbyes, and gives them each their role to play in the future. And I mean, it's genuinely touching, which I didn't expect. Bruce Campbell is not the best actor in the world, but he does a good job in this season, particularly with these more emotional things, right? Yeah, he could have been a little more emotional when Brandy dies or whatnot, but I think that for the most part, he really does nail that in the final episode. He has this kind of, midlife crisis of confidence where he's just drinking a beer and he's like, I don't even want to be the savior. I don't want to be the Jefe. I don't want to be the prophesied one. I just want to live my life. I don't want to be covered in blood 24/7. And Brandy's the one who kind of has this arc where she kind of grows to love her father and kind of goes, no, get off your feet and fight this freaking demon. You got to do it. So man up and do this. And he does, of course. He shoots the monster and it gets covered in rubble. And yeah, for the most part, the CGI regarding Kandar looks good, right? I've had some issues with the CGI in seasons 1 and 2, but in this, it feels like they really wanted to give it a more of a budget, so to speak, especially because it's the end. You don't want your big CGI monster to look like crap. It isn't the best CGI monster ever. It's not going to win any awards or nothing, but it looks good. I think it's really, really epic where you see the planes and the jets and shit. They're shooting it, and they're like, the army's in, and they're bombing it, and they want to nuke it. This is like a global World War III style scenario before. I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting to World War III in a few days here, but beside the point. Evil Dead Season 3 World War III is pretty much, this is a global Deadite invasion, right? This is not a cabin anymore. This is the whole freaking world. And Ash is like, oh, I'm effed. I'm not doing this. And he finally does it, obviously. But again, it's a really epic conclusion. Really dramatic. Really funny. Really intense. Really violent. Really, basically everything you'd want from Evil Dead. But again, it's got that emotional core, which we've seen before and we'll see again with these last two movies, especially Evil Dead Rise. But it is really cool to see that in this. And then, of course, we get to the controversial part where Ash wakes up in some weird Half-Life 2 looking box thing, and he's got his arms back, and he's got like a cool prosthetic Sekiro Shadows Die Twice looking arm, and that's cool. And then we see this hot lady come in, and she's got the Book of Boba Fett, that Star Wars show where the people have like weird arms or stuff like that where what's her butt got shot in the chest and Boba Fett. Yeah, that part. You see her kind of walk. She's got like a missing torso or whatever, and she's like, hey, we got your car. They got the Army of Darkness style car vibe back, and Ash wakes up in the far future with basically as a result of this massive Deadite invasion, we have had basically like a post-apocalyptic wasteland of the world. We don't know if it's the whole world, but where they're at, it's basically a big desert full of broken buildings and just crazy post-apocalyptic stuff, like Furiosa kind of, and or the Void, I guess, from Marvel. But yeah, Ash is like, where's my daughter? He doesn't say where's Pablo and Kelly, but they live, so I'm assuming they're. That's the controversial part, right? We don't know what happens to Brandy. We don't know what happens to Pablo or Kelly, right? Where are they? Are they dead? Are they alive? Obviously, they're not dead because that'd be really brutal and horrible. They obviously survive the final battle, but they get to, I'm assuming they get to just kind of either live normally for a while and then fight Deadites, or they're just still fighting Deadites. I don't know, but obviously, Brandy is alive because she's like, oh, I'll tell you when you drive. So yeah, they're all still kicking somewhere. And again, the show it basically ends with Ash in the car revving up, with the theme song that was in the first episode kind of playing, and then that's it. It ends. And yeah, it's a cliffhanger, right? We don't know what happens to certain characters. The fates of these characters are basically unknown. What happened in the world? What freaking year is it? Ash has a cool hand, and he's got a girl with him, and he's in the car, and he's ready to go. He's ready to fight more Deadites. But I also think that's the best possible ending you could give for this character, right? Like, Ash, basically ever since the first movie, has been killing Deadites as a hobby, right? There's even a moment, I believe it's in season 1, where the book is like, hey, if you get rid of me, if you stop fighting us, you are effing nothing. You are a loser, right? And that's true. Ash was a loser, and now he became a hero and saved the whole world by defeating Kandar, the demon. But obviously, like the dark side, right? When Palpatine dies in Episode 6, he transfers his essence to a cloned husk on Exegol, right? Essentially informing the audience and the world that the dark side can never truly be defeated, right? It always kind of comes back in certain ways. Obviously, Palpatine's dead now, but it was a really interesting concept that Star Wars touched upon, and obviously that was great in my opinion. But in this too, the Necronomicon can't be destroyed really, right? Evil will never be truly dead, right? Even though it's evil dead, they will never be dead, right? They're only half dead. They're dead in quotation marks. And yeah, that really kind of shows that Ash is destined to forever fight the Deadites, forever, be in this war of fighting evil. And I think that is the best ending, right? I didn't really want to see Ash retire, or just, I know Bruce Campbell did, but I didn't want to see Ash. I didn't want to see Ash put the chainsaw up and like go in Jacksonville. I know that's what he wants, but as a progressive story element, I think it's far more interesting that Ash is just he's cool with it. He's cool with it. He's fine with it. He's good with it, and he's gonna be killing these Deadites forever. And yeah, again, it's a cliffhanger, and apparently the animated show is not season 4. I don't think they're gonna be touching upon what happens here. Which that is I don't want to say it's a negative, but it does kind of suck, when things get canceled. I know it's kind of out of your control and out of your reach, but at least give us some sort of, explanation as where these characters are, what's going on. We obviously know that Ash is fighting the Deadites again forever, but, I think it'd be kind of cool to see really what happens next after this. I know they're not doing it, but, you never know. But I think it's interesting how it ends. Again, I think it's a pretty poignant and emotional finale, and overall, again, my only issues with this is kind of the pacing again in that house with baby Ash. It's not boring. Like I was never bored. I was consistently engaged the whole time. But it was just that kind of like, all right, let's move on from the baby thing. Let's move on from the twin thing. And then obviously we get the amazing character arcs of Brandy and Ruby, and we get more stuff. Pablo isn't as, I think we've gotten a lot of character development for him. We got some cool character development from Kelly as well. How she kind of like climactically tries to kill Ruby. It's a really, really intense scene. Really kind of gets her blood pumping. And that's just testament to this franchise and these movies and these characters that they wrote across these 3 seasons, man. It's a really, really stellar show. This is honestly one of my favorite TV shows ever made. Like, this is like top 5. It's genuinely fantastic. Again, if you can stomach gore, obviously I can because I know it's fake. It is genuinely a hilarious show. It's funny. It's action-packed. It's got really good characters, really good writing, really good lore, nothing woke, really good stuff altogether. And I think it's a very unique show that builds upon a very unique franchise. And obviously the next thing we're going to be talking about is Evil Dead 2013, which thankfully is a movie, not a show, so I'm going to get that out much sooner than I would a season like this. But overall, man, I think if I were to do a ranking, I'd probably go maybe, I think I'd have to go season 2 first. And then, I don't know, man, maybe season 3 and then season 1. It's tough. Like, I don't hate any of them. I don't dislike any of them. I barely have any negatives for any of these. They're very well-made seasons. And I think that this is a very good, conclusion to this franchise, or to this, show, and to, I guess, this arc of Ash. I know we're going to be getting Ash again. He is reprising his role in the animated show. I don't know when that takes place. I'm assuming it's going to be old Ash. Maybe it's like an in-between thing with this. I don't know. But this is still canon, so that, it's not like it got erased by nothing, so that's cool. But overall, man, just a really stylistic show. A lot of gore, a lot of action, a lot of violence, obviously. But it's also genuinely hilarious and surprisingly pretty emotional at the end. So tell me down in the comments what you think below about Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 3. And out of these 3 seasons, what is your favorite and why? Again, next we're going to be doing Evil Dead 2013, Evil Dead Rise, and then I do know the Drag Me to Hell film is canon to the Evil Dead franchise. I did not get it for my birthday, so I'm going to have to wait for Christmas or whatever, get it on Blu-ray at the exchange or whatever I got to do. But yeah, that is a part of the Evil Dead lore. I haven't seen it. I really want to. So once I get that, Blu-ray, I'll review that. But pretty much we're at the end of the Evil Dead franchise, man. We got like 2 or 3 movies left, and then it's back to the MCU. So thank you very much for listening to me talk about Evil Dead. I really enjoyed reviewing all this stuff. So again, let's talk about Evil Dead Season 3 or anything Evil Dead related, the show or the movies in the comments below. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.